And here we are once again with a new movie review.
You know, ever since we cut back, it feels like it's forever now between episodes for me.
It does, right? Because we got so accustomed to doing 2 a week, and now here we are, temporarily at least, back to a 1 a week format.
Yeah, we did that for like 5 months.
Oh, yeah. It was a while.
And now here we are, and it's just like, oh, man, it's been 11 years since we did this.
Here's how bizarre it is. Like, I got accustomed to every day in some way, shape, or form. Like, my second job was, what the fuck do I have to do for the podcast today?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what I need to watch, what I need to edit, what I need to upload, what I need to record. Like, what is the program today? And then, like, for like the past 2 weeks, it's been like, I don't think there's anything I need to do today.
You're like, man, I can actually play Expedition 33 now. That's crazy. That's been like the opposite for me, is because, and it's going to be interesting when we kick back up to 2 a week to see how this goes, is I'm running another D&D game now.
Yes.
And thankfully, I'm super ultra prepped for the one table for a while because, like I'm at that stage with the other one, with the new one, where it's like I have to 100% prep
Right.
every time we play. And that's been taking it out of me. The last 2 nights, the creative juices just weren't flowing. And that's like the worst thing ever for a creative, is like when you have to create, but your brain doesn't want to do the thing. And it's just painstaking. I find myself sitting at my computer for like 2 hours, and then I'll have like this much on the screen.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, oh my God. But it's going to be interesting when we kick back up to see how that goes.
Man, I would have, I would say auction, that's the wrong word. I would have suggested to be on the new table that you're at, but I was like, I'm already at 3 tables.
Yeah. It's like, how much D&D can I actually play?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I actually spun up this new table was because I got so many people that like I know that want to play and like don't have a table at all.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got like a pretty nice mix of like brand new folks. So as much as I would love to have you there.
Yeah, dog. Hey, look, if you ever need me to make a cameo appearance or something,
I may just.
I would definitely be down for that.
Yeah, man. We also just got our freaking $30 early access Superman tickets.
Yeah, let's talk about that for just a second here. So, yeah, the homie Caleb did some real due diligence here and found out that the local Regal Theater, they are actually having an early access showing of Superman 2 days early, 3 days if you don't get your movies till Friday. So we'll be watching Superman on that Tuesday.
That's right.
Instead of that Thursday or Friday.
So hopefully we'll be able to get the review out to you guys before you could even possibly go see it. So you can check out our spoiler-free thoughts before you go and spend your hard-earned cash.
We're going to fuck with y'all on that one and put the spoiler-filled section first. That would be weird as hell to do a spoiler-filled first and then spoiler-free. But no, those tickets, first of all, for that showing, we are going to the Regal Theater. Now, the Regal Theater, fun fact, from here is not that far, actually. It's really not that far at all.
It's closer than our normal theater.
It is.
And you may have a nice Regal where you live, but we do not.
We do not.
We have one here.
Yeah.
It's just not nice.
And you know what it is, right? Well, part of what it is that before the GTC, the Riverwatch Theater moved or was built here, we really only had the Regal.
Yeah, it was the only game in town. It was one of those things.
And back then, it seemed like maybe it's because it was all that we had locally, but it didn't seem that bad. But I feel like it went down in quality once the GTC opened up.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it went down in quality, but I think it was like that was the best we had. Mm-hmm. And we were like, well, this is the best we got. And then we got our new theater, and they had all the nice stuff and the nice seats. And like you could reserve your seats ahead of time because you couldn't do that at the Regal back then.
Right.
and not a sponsor, clearly.
No.
And I actually remember Force Awakens was the last premiere I went to there.
Same.
And then I went to go see it again at the GTC, and I was like, yeah, I'm never going back to that other place. And I've only been back there a handful of times, and it was just to see like really specific stuff. Like I think the Broly movie only showed there. The Godzilla -1, I saw it there, and then I think that's it. And then we have this upcoming movie. I did go see Deadpool and Wolverine there with the homie Lauren and some people.
Okay.
But I had already seen it, at the good theater on opening night. So.
Right. Yeah, we don't say this to, shit on the Regal Theater or anyone who works there or likes going there. It's just that it's not a preferred theater. But in order to see Superman early, we will be going to that theater.
It's at least the IMAX.
It is at least the IMAX. The seats are a massive downgrade. And that's the other thing, right? Because paying for a movie ticket, it's like you're paying for the atmosphere, you're paying for the experience, you're paying for the comfort. You know?
And we will have none of that.
We will have none of that.
No, we're going to go sit in some ratty 10-year-old IMAX seats that weren't comfortable the day they were put in.
Right.
Because they're, and to the Regal's credit, I'm pretty sure that IMAX actually has say over like the layout and stuff of the theater in there. So I don't think Regal can just go in there and upgrade those seats. But yeah, they are literally box seats. They're just kind of, and they're not comfortable at all. I mean, they're just atrocious. So it's going to be a downgrade in all ways, except for the fact that the screen in there, at least to my recollection, is pretty nice. It's an IMAX, so the sound and the video quality should at least be pretty good.
It should be.
It better be, because so we got this through Amazon Prime, right? So, and if you got Prime, and they are also not a sponsor, but they can be if they want. If you got Amazon Prime, you can actually get tickets to the early access. So you got to have Prime to get the early access showings. And it's this whole thing where like it takes you to your Prime login, and then it takes you to Fandango, and like that's how you unlock the tickets. And they're like $30 here. And I was like, oh my God. But that's the only reason we got tickets, because if it wasn't locked down like that and just anybody could buy them, they'd probably be sold out.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
That'd be a hard get. Like,
that reminds me, I need to go ahead and pick up. We got so many tickets for things, but I need to go ahead and pick up our Jurassic World tickets.
Oh my gosh!
And I need to go ahead and pick up our Fantastic Four tickets.
I was gonna ask if those are out. Yeah,
yeah.
So I mean, 'tis the season.
That's right.
Know? So and it's gonna be me, Cash App and Caleb constantly.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I think that's it. Fuck no, that's another 30. That's another 20. That's another 20. Yeah. So it 'tis the season of movie reviews. And it's going to be a fun summer, we hope.
That's right, yeah. We'll find out in a few weeks when Jurassic World comes out. I will say I am going to go see How to Train Your Dragon on Friday.
Okay, nice.
It's funny because if you look at the reviews for that, the critics, the reviews are all like between like a 5 and like a 9.5. But the reviews, like the actual content of the reviews is all the same. Like the really glowing praise of it is like, oh my God, they shot for shot recreated the original in live action. And then like the ones that like didn't like the movie are like, there's nothing original here. They remade the entire original film shot for shot. There's no surprises. And I'm like, the fandom does not want you to touch a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, please understand, Disney, fucking Universal, Lionsgate, whoever, all the big studios, listen up. If you live action remake some shit that you previously had out that was animated and people liked the animated version, don't change a fucking thing. We don't want it.
That's the truth. That is the truth. It's a weird thing that these studios have a hard time dealing with. You know, like you look at something like The Lion King when it came out, the live action Lion King from a few years ago. And that was a different story though, you know?
Yeah.
Like people didn't fuck with that, but it wasn't because the story was the same. It was because it's kind of weird. Like, you can't really do animals CG and have them emote and express. You know, it's just not the same thing.
Right.
But Moana, I heard that they actually make a few cuts and changes from the original movie and that live action adaptation.
The interesting thing about all of this, right, is Lilo and Stitch is the latest victim of this.
Yes, I'm going to say Lilo and Stitch. I said Moana.
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't know the live action Moana was even out, but I never even seen the original one. So
they're working on that one. I'm not racist. All right.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch, man, has been panned hard, woefully disliked because they changed so many things. And hilariously, the original animators on Lilo and Stitch, I think when they spun off a bunch of stuff from it, Disney actually didn't involve the original animators. And they kind of like never called them back or whatever. Like the people who basically did all these designs and stuff.
Damn.
And those animators were also not involved in the live action in any way. So when those animators left Disney, they started to shop around an original idea that they had. It was this dragon movie. And those people are the people that are responsible for How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, shit.
And they are involved in the live action remake of that.
Wow.
Which is kind of funny that they're both coming out around the same time and it came all full circle. So,
damn.
Yeah, crazy story.
The more you know. I still don't have a more you know button, but we do have the button.
I like how it sounds all like choral, and then it just goes into like the beat. You know?
Yeah. I still like the idea of the director of the movie going to the composer and being like, we really need something that's high energy, that gets the people into it, and something that just screams Fantastic Four. And the composer's like, I can do that.
Yeah, quite literally, I can handle that for you. It's a bop, though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. It kind of grew on me. You know, at first I was like, this is literally them saying Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a bold choice.
It is. For the setting of it, like the retro 60, futuristic type setting, I feel like it fits really well.
Yeah, it fits really well because it's apparent. It's definitely supposed to be a play on the Jetsons.
Absolutely,
it's that kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. So for our younger listeners out there, the Jetsons was this show that used to be on about this family that lived in the future.
His son Franklin, best friend Benny.
It'd be hilarious if like they do like something kind of like that in the.
Oh shit! Okay, I think that we are ready to discuss tonight's topic.
Yep. Well, proper introductions are in order, as well as a reading of the rules.
They are. Homies, one and all, welcome back to another very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. We're not wearing our suits, but believe me, we are still very much bulletproof. My name is Quentin, and as always, I'm here with the man who trained John Wick. I'm talking about the homie Caleb.
That's right. You're not supposed to tell people that. I really don't want people coming after me.
I mean, well, what are they going to do?
That's true. That's very true. What are they going to do? Yeah. But we are here tonight. If you have never seen one of our movie reviews before, there is a certain decorum, if you will. So the first half of this review will be spoiler free. We will talk about the pacing. We'll talk about the action. We'll talk about the score. We'll talk about the actors. And maybe just some very mild overtures toward the plot. We will not be revealing any spoilers. We will also score the movie at the end of this section. We will then fuck around for an undisclosed amount of time. And then the second half of this review will be completely spoiler-filled. So you'll only want to stick around for that half if you either have already seen the movie or just don't care about spoilers.
Yeah. And the spoiler free section is going to be pretty interesting because there are some things that happened in the movie that I was unaware of. But then on the way out, I saw those things on the poster, and it hit me like, oh, I just wasn't paying attention, I guess.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and more so in reference to like certain characters who are in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that being said, man, what you think of this?
So
Ballerina is the movie we're reviewing. By
yeah. We really didn't actually. If you clicked on this shit, we assume that you know. Yeah. So first off, like, you look at the title of this on paper, and it's from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. They want to make sure wisely that everybody knows this is part of the John Wick mythology, because the John Wick, I think fan base, like there's a section of fans that just really love these movies. I think you're probably part of that, right?
I am.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of like it's almost like, I'd almost compare it kind of to the Cosmere, right? Where it's like, you enjoy the things you've read there,
yes,
but like I'm like, steeped in it, and I think it's probably the reverse for this. Like I of course look at everything, and I'll go, oh, okay, there's all right connection there. I'm always looking for that stuff. I love that stuff. Just really nerdy shit, right? But like, if you ask me some crazy John Wick lore question, like we're watching this movie, and I'm like, which John Wick movie is I clearly know it's not after 4,
right?
And then I'm like, I'm thinking that when he visits I'm trying to think. I'm gonna guess it's around the second movie, right? Like timeline wise.
Timeline wise, it is certainly either 2 or 3.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of globe trotting in 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so I'm thinking it's around there, man. So that's what I wouldn't call myself a casual, but I'm also not like, all about it. But my general thoughts, man. I really enjoyed this. I think maybe not the plot, but I think I enjoyed everything else. I think I enjoyed the action. I think more than any of the John Wick movies. That might be a hot take. I don't know.
I'm gonna call that a pretty lukewarm take. Like it's a warm enough take where like you don't want to feed that bottle to a newborn baby.
Yeah. Let me elaborate.
Yeah.
Usually about halfway through a John Wick movie, I'm like, when is this murder porn gonna end? Because I enjoy it for about the first half, right? And then after John Wick has killed about, 600 people, I'm usually like, okay, we get it. Baba Yaga, don't fuck with him. But in this movie, I never really felt that, There was like maybe a minute or so kind of towards the end where I was like, all right, okay. But for the most part, I really didn't feel that here. And I don't know if that's maybe just, it's been a while since I saw a John Wick movie, or if it's just it was just more varied in this movie. I feel like a lot of the shots and everything were very creative in this.
So I think that to a degree I do agree with you, but I think it's for a couple of reasons though. I think one reason is like in Ballerina they had to be more creative. One, because this is their 5th entry into this world, so they're gonna have to try to do things that are at least a little bit more fresh for what they do here. And 2, Ana de Armas, she's very talented, she's very good. She doesn't appear that she went through the same type of ridiculous nonsense that Keanu willingly put himself through to prepare for and to get better at these movies. Like the man legit learned jiu-jitsu and legit ran a gun course and legit came up with a new way of reloading that people actually use for his movies. And what that allowed them to do in those John Wick movies were like Chad Stahelski, and the other primary director whose name slips my mind. What they were able to do with those movies were keep the camera on him and then just rotate. And they did that to a degree here in Ballerina, but there were noticeably more cuts for me, which is fine because, again, I'm not going to ask everybody to do what Keanu did for John Wick. You know,
Right.
The next closest thing I can think of is Halle Berry for the third one. She willingly put herself through some bullshit because she said that she wanted to be able to step it up and do what Keanu did, and she had the cane corsos that kind of did a lot of heavy lifting for her too, though. But still really good.
I think well, and no mistake about it. Like Ana de Armas did a lot of the stunts for this movie. So,
Absolutely.
That helps a lot with the cuts, to be honest, because there's a lot of shots that you get where like they can stay on her face the whole time.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do that with a stunt double. And her ability to emote during the fight is really good. That's one of the things that sets her apart from Keanu, I think, is like, Keanu, like John Wick is very stoic. Like that's the deal. Whereas with her, she is also stoic, but she also has that really good ability to like emote with her face during the fight. And if we were using a stunt double, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
In a lot of these shots. The other thing I think one of the reasons I really like the action here is like you said, like Keanu went and did all this, like learned jujitsu, had all this like weapon training and all this other stuff. But like along with that sort of refinement, you get a sort of mechanical feel to it. Like there's a certain perfection to it. Whereas I feel like it's grittier and more raw in this. Like if you've seen Andor, I would liken it more, and mild Andor spoiler here, to more of like the Cassian and what's his name?
That guy.
We deleted that. He's a forgettable guy. That's the point. What was his name?
It was right there on the tip of my tongue.
Incel guy from Andor.
What's the name of his girlfriend?
Miro
and Cyril.
Cyril, yeah. The Cyril and Cassian fight from Andor. Mm-hmm. This is a lot of this action is more akin to that. It's very like raw. Mm-hmm. But the difference here is like all these people know how to fight.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that was also in the John Wick movies, particularly the third and fourth, like when they had to keep amping up things for this goddamn murder robot.
Yeah. I gotta say, I definitely enjoyed the plot of those movies more. Like if I had to rank them, right, I would say like I think for me, I like the action in this movie the best.
Okay.
I think the best plot is 4 with 3 right behind it. And then I would say this movie. Mm-hmm. And then on the action, I would kind of flip that and I would say this movie and then 4 and then 3. And then 1 and 2 are just, they were great for their time.
Interesting. John Wick 1 is still, to me, the best of the best.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't feel like that's a bad take. I feel like the plot in 2 was kind of,
you know what it was about 2 that I really liked was the fact that they began to build upon like this whole continental League of Assassins underground type thing.
Agreed. The first one is like, they killed my dog.
Yeah.
Fuck them. Mm-hmm. And they just very barely hint at it. And then in the second one, they start the universe building.
Right.
There was just a good bit of that I don't know. I just didn't love 2. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely my least favorite, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard for me to say which one is my least favorite. I'll say this, like I think that Ballerina is a great entry into the series. I think that it fits in perfectly with the John Wick series as a whole. And thankfully, they had like the same people who made the John Wick franchise made this one, because typically the kiss of death with something like this is when somebody new steps in and tries to do a spinoff. That's normally where shit falls apart. But you can tell that the same people did this. And looking in the credits, you see the same people. Which, I think is kind of what you need in something like this. The thing of it is to remember is that like the John Wick series it starts off feeling like a really fun video game. And then by the time you get to John Wick 3 and 4, it feels like a comic book.
Yeah.
The way that the world is expanding. And that kind of leads to like, because again, I am a uber fan of this franchise, but I'm not immune to some of the flaws that it has, right? And I think some of the flaws for me that are in the John Wick franchise are also in Ballerina.
Right.
That being, by the time you get to John Wick 3 and moving on forward from that, it feels like about 60% of the population might be assassins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, one of my favorite shots, I think, at the end of John Wick 2 is when, like, he realizes that because of what he did in John Wick 1, now there's all these people who are after him now.
Right.
You know? And then that made it, like, really kind of cool and introspective. Like, he doesn't know who's just looking at him because he looks like a crazy man versus who's looking at him because, you know, they
got a bounty. Yeah,
they got a bounty. But by the time you get to 3, you're like, oh, wow, no. So, like, I think there's 13 million people in New York City or in New York. And out of that 13 million, probably 9 of them are assassins.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, anyway, if I'm sitting there and I pull up my phone and it's like John Wick, I'm not even looking at the number. I'm like, wrong number. Who this? Like,
delete.
Yeah, yeah. I got shit to do today and tomorrow.
Yeah, like living.
And I ain't gonna make it to that tomorrow.
Right. But you kind of get that same thing here, right? Where it's like there are a lot of goddamn assassins.
There's so many.
Oh.
It begins to drain on you the same way that the like Daredevil season 2, right? Where it's like, more ninjas.
the hand is awfully large. How many hands are there in the hand?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, man, if you guys had like 6,000 people, I mean.
Mm-hmm. And how many of them have you sent after this blind ninja?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Oh, shit.
So you obviously, like I said, huge fan of the franchise. Obviously the thing that's on, you know, everybody's mind here is like Keanu has, for the most part, carried the shit out of this thing. And I mean, how do you think Anna did with the role here as Eve?
I think she did really well here. And the unfortunate thing is this, right? No matter what, people are going to compare Eve to John Wick. You know,
of course.
Like, in terms of like comparing the characters. And I don't think that's really fair. It's understandable because same universe, but I don't think it's really fair just because the story format from the beginning to the end suits John Wick's personality. You know, whereas here with Eve, you know, she has, without spoiling anything, a similar-ish plight to John. But the way that she goes about it is different because she's a different person.
Right.
And, you know, I like that we get to see the protagonist fail and get hurt and, you know, and get back up and try to find a way to move forward. And, you know, things don't always go as planned, you know. So it's interesting. I think that she does a great job. I don't think that the movie always does things that supports her or lets us be more invested in her like we should be. What about you?
I agree. I think, and I think that's kind of where I'm at with this too, is it's like, okay, did they intentionally make this movie, I think, very similar to John Wick 1? Because they intend to do something similar with it and kind of build it out from here, you know? Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about it, too, you know, is like John Wick in this universe as the Baba Yaga was already super famous in this world before the beginning of the first movie. So here we have a situation where we have a character that we're building, essentially. If that is their plan, was kind of to start very basic here and then build. I think that's fine. I think they did a good job with that. But yeah, a lot of the character is very one note. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, it's like if you look at the franchise as a whole, it's not like John Wick has this overwhelming, right. Crazy in-depth character either. It's kind of like, I remember people that really hated the second Transformers movie because they're like, it's just a bunch of robots fighting and Megan Fox running in slow motion. And I'm like, right, you went to go see Transformers. That's actually what it should be. Now, not to say, I'm not trying to defend that movie. I think there's a lot of things that you could say about it. I have a lot of criticisms of it. But if that was your criticism, then you went to the wrong theater. You bought the wrong ticket. And I think that's kind of where we're at here. This is the 5th entry into this franchise. So if you're expecting something other than stoic main character absolutely fucking wrecks a bunch of people for a little over 2 hours, then I mean, that's what you're going to get, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to what you were saying there, it reminds me of like the classic Ghostbusters 2 dilemma. Like Ghostbusters 2, if you look at it on the face of it, it's kind of ridiculous. At the end of the first movie, they saved New York City from a giant goddamn... At the very least, people saw the giant marshmallow man. People saw Stay Puft, Like, that shit just doesn't go away from your memory.
Right.
But by the time you get to the second movie, they're working Halloween gigs, birthday party gigs, and no one cares about the Ghostbusters or remembers them. So essentially, they're back to where they were square one.
Right.
And then there's this paranormal infestation, and then there's this possessed painting, and and then that they go through like this whole process again, and then there's a giant Statue of Liberty that they hijack, and essentially it's kind of a reskin of the first movie.
Right.
In some regards, Ghostbusters 2 is kind of just like they do the same high notes from the first one, except it's not done as well as the first one.
Yeah.
And so if you've never seen Ghostbusters 1 and you just watch the second one, you're going to think this is great. Like, I'm really having a good time with this. But if you've seen the first one and then watch 2, you're going to feel like this is just a shell of what the first one was. It's an inferior version of Ghostbusters 1.
But, and this is per the rules of the podcast, Sigourney Weaver is in it.
Okay, that's true. That's like the unofficial Superhero Homies rule number 11.
Yeah, even though we came up with an 11 live on the show, but like somehow we just Mandela affected our own selves because I've listened to that episode twice.
Bro, so when I was editing, I was listening forward, and I was like, I don't hear this 11th rule.
Yeah, everyone who was in the room, which didn't include you, oddly, remembers me coming up with it, but none of us remember what it is, and it's also not on the recording. So either you masterfully edited it to the point that even myself, an editor, can't tell, or we all just somehow Mandela affected ourselves.
That is wild. I don't know what to think of that. It must be the homie gods at play.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it was a shitty rule and the committee just like erased it from time. Yeah. But unofficial rule number 11 is if Sigourney Weaver is in a thing, a 9 is like the lowest it could possibly get.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the Avatar films do not count.
Yeah, there's an asterisk to the asterisk. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like Thunderbolts.
That's only one asterisk.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We can't say too much about the plot here because one, this is still a John Wick movie, so there's not going to be a whole lot of meat to the plot, and two, because we know we don't want to spoil anything here. But in terms of like the plots of how the plot would go for a movie like this, I think that it's serviceable. It's been done a lot, this type of premise, and there are some some kind of laughable plot holes that I can't wait to dig into.
There really are. and honestly, I just kind of rolled right over them because of what the movie is. You know, you just kind of because of it is what it is. You just kind of accept it. You know,
the reason why it's hard though is because the John Wick franchise, they don't focus on a lot, but the things they do focus on, they hyper focus on.
Yeah.
And in this movie, they just kind of like, yeah, so this is what the thing is, but they don't give you any details about it. So like the main bad guy, we don't really understand or know what his motives are or what his deal is. Like we just don't know.
And even actually at the end, we still don't. Yeah. We still don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we could not spoil it for you if we wanted to, folks. And that's the other thing, too, about this movie is, like, if we want to go through and talk about the cast, and this is kind of similar to the John Wick movies, at least the early ones, is like, and I would say it's even more extreme here than it is in any of the John Wick like main franchise movies. Like Ana de Armas is by far the most screen time in this. Mm-hmm. Like I would say the second most is probably Ian McShane's Winston.
It's a distant second, yeah.
And it's a so distant second. Mm-hmm. And now obviously if you guys have seen the trailers, you know John Wick's in the movie, and we will probably not be talking about any of his like screen time or any of that stuff until the spoiler filled section. But I can say that I was pleased that he did not overpower the movie, because they definitely, the Hollywood minds out there, I could totally see that happening.
Well, you know, looking in the credits, you see that Keanu was producer on it, so was Chad Stahelski. So it seemed like the movie was going to be in good hands.
Right.
So thankfully, I don't think there was a whole lot of studio interference, but I can definitely see them just being tempted to shoehorn in another John Wick movie.
They got to spend a fortune in extras for these movies.
Oh my gosh. Well, not only like do you have to spend a fortune in extras, but a fortune in stunt people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like go ahead and bring up John Wick victim number 74.
It's like, all right, yeah, that's me. No, that is true. That's where most of the budget has to go for these movies. What you think of the pacing?
So all these movies, like, the pacing is varied for me throughout these films, right? This one I actually thought went pretty well. Like I said, there's only really one part that maybe like right, in the third act where this kind of drug for me. But I will say that in the first two acts, I thought that the pacing was quite good. The first act absolutely held my attention. It was over like that, Modern day blockbusters tend to drag in the second act, right? And then get ridiculous in the third act.
Yeah.
And I don't know that this one ever went into either one of those categories. What about you?
No, I didn't really have an issue with the pacing until the third act, kind of similar to you. I don't know if it was the same part or not, but it was interesting though, because even when we got to the third act, I was still very much attentive to what was going on, still very much invested in like the story that was happening, and okay, so what are we doing here and what's going on? It's just, I guess, a certain gimmick that they used was super cool, and then I was like, we can
we don't have to.
We can do something else now. Yeah.
It was the same part.
Okay.
It was the same part. Yeah. And it's not to say like I didn't really enjoy this movie. I absolutely did.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely that. There are the series now 5 movies in has its own tropes.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, right? Like, here's what I can say about this movie. If you like John Wick as a franchise, you'll like this movie. If you don't, you probably won't. Yeah. It has its own tropes, and they are not afraid of just being like, and here it is. Mm-hmm. They are very straightforward with, like, this is going to be at least 90 minutes of action porn.
Yeah. So if you like that, you will like this.
Yeah. And if you don't, you definitely will not.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, the only reason why you wouldn't like this would be if you don't like the lead. But again, I think that Ana does a great job here.
I got to agree. I think it's... I'm actually quite a fan of hers. Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't checked out her Hot Ones episode, it was hilarious.
I have to check that out.
She did about like we did.
Oh, that's great. Or not for her, but yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of memes now that's like of she's in like the early ones and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be able to do this. This isn't that bad. And then like she's on the later ones and she's just like, oh my god, oh my god, and it's just become a meme. Yeah. You know, she's like, I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I think the first thing I saw her in was actually Blade Runner 2049.
I should still watch that.
Yeah.
I should still watch the first one.
That would also help. Oh shit!
I'm just waiting for the ultra mega.
You think that's gonna be another version?
Futuristic Harrison Ford director's cut special ultimate edition.
Yeah, of course.
And also for them to invent a box they can print that on.
Holy shit! There are a lot of versions of Blade Runner, and I technically own them all.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they released a box set version that has like all the versions. Yeah.
Of course, but of course.
Yeah.
I would talk about the music here, the soundtrack, but it never really stood out to me. One of the tropes that this franchise has is there's really not any music, and then the action kicks in, and then it's just like some nondescript techno.
I was gonna say there is music in all of these movies, and it's normally a club scene that is techno.
Yeah,
and you just know that the Molly is flowing in these nightclubs.
That's true, man. I gotta say, like, I imagine when John Wick shows up, that shit turns into like some scarecrow, fear toxin.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh fuck! Like, not only are you running from John Wick, but you're high as balls.
Right. That's gotta be terrifying. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. This was what they do differently in this. That is cool to see is we get to see her Eve, the main character, from like the beginning of her journey.
Yeah.
Whereas with John Wick, kind of the allure to him was everybody is scared shitless of him.
Yeah.
And then we as the viewers find out why.
Yeah. Over time we found out, okay.
Yeah. But with Eve here, she's still learning. And she's very good at, and her skills come from her being so determined, you know.
Yeah.
And they really do a good job of explaining that aspect of her character. Let's see. So yeah, we discussed the pacing, the action. This movie also has some pretty interesting settings. Like I said, there are kind of some places that we go that we've been before, like the Continental, the random nightclub, you know. But then we go to like a new area in the third act. A new map has been unlocked.
Yeah. Yeah, the season 5 maps are out.
Are we ready to score this one?
I think so. I don't remember who went last.
Me either. I don't remember the last thing we scored. Was it a Fantastic Four movie?
Oh my God, was it?
I think it was Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Did you go first on that one?
I will say I did.
Okay, great. Okay, so like I said, you got two different perspectives on these movies here. You have like a huge fan, and then you have somebody that likes them, right? As somebody that likes them, I really enjoyed this. Whether it's and I don't know if it's because it's a very fresh take on a lot of it, while still feeling very familiar. That's hard to pull off. That's a delicate kind of tightrope you have to walk when it comes to these like big franchises with filmmaking. But what I can tell you is I think that if they're going to introduce a new protagonist into this world, I think they've done a good job with this one. I think it was casted very well. I think a lot of the stunts that she pulled off are definitely incredible. There's a lot of really great shots in this. They did an excellent job with it. I don't, like I said, I don't think that the plot is anything to necessarily write home about. But that's almost a franchise trope too. Not even necessarily a franchise trope, but kind of a genre trope. A lot of these type of like really big action movies, they have kind of a hook at the beginning, and then that's kind of the plot, with a couple of like twists and turns and some world hopping and all that in there. Globe-trotting, whatever you want to call it. That being said, I think I'm going to give this one an 8.6.
Very nice. Very nice. I had a blast with this movie. I love this world. I love this universe. I was hooked from day one. I think the first John Wick movie I saw was back in 2017. I think that's when the first one came out. And it was in February. I remember this pretty well. I'm pretty sure it was February. Because I went to go see Lego Batman. And I hated it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it. And I hated it so much that I went back to the theater the next day to watch something else. And I said, let me see this John Wick movie that people are talking about. And that was all she wrote. I was hooked. So I guess you can thank Will Arnett for my love of John Wick. But I think that this movie hits on so many of the high notes of the previous movies that come before it. And in some ways, it's more creative, and I think that's great because they have different limitations that they need to work around. For example, I don't know if you can say that that the ballerina, that Eve, is a better fighter than John Wick, but I will say she can throw shit probably better than he can. The amount of shit that she throws at people with that high success rate is incredible.
Especially hammers.
Oh, yeah.
She's very, very fond of a hammer.
She is fond of a hammer. That's a weapon of choice, for sure. I thought that the pacing, again, for this movie was pretty good. There were a few times where I'm not going to say I was dozing off, but I felt my tiredness kick in. I don't blame that on the movie, per se, but it is something I have to note. I was just tired going into it, but man, there were moments where I felt like, okay, I'm going to need you to stab somebody right now to wake me up. The villain here, and this might be really saying something here. The villain in this one is among the weakest for me. And I just felt like when it came to certain parts of her story, her arc and her villain, they really skimped out, and I'm not sure why. And you can say, well, that's never really been the franchise's focus, but it always has been a part of it, just not the main part of it. And this one, it felt like it was really on the back burner, and that they really wanted to rely on the high-octane action to carry it through, which is fine for a movie like this, but you still want to have at least an interesting antagonist. I'm not saying that it has to be like the most spectacular thing in the world, but it has to be something. I am going to give this an 8.1 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. I really dig it. I really, really dig it.
There you have it, folks. That's our spoiler-free section and our rating on Ballerina from the world of John Wick. Stick around if you want to hear some spoilers in just a few minutes.
Yes.
So we got Superman coming up. We talked about that a little earlier.
Yeah.
Did you see that James Gunn this week he revealed that metahumans have been like common public knowledge for about 300 years in this world?
300 years?
Yeah.
Well, that's got to mean Wonder Woman.
Right. It's got to. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. That's a while.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. You know, he kind of compared it, and I thought this is an interesting comparison. It's like, you know, if you saw like a half shark guy walking down the street, you would like call the cops and run for your life. Whereas like these guys are probably call TMZ. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to be an interesting differentiation between, like, obviously they had to do something to really separate the DCU from the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the way that James Gunn is going to present the world of the DCU is going to be something that people are going to be talking about.
Did you see they're calling it the Justice Gang?
I saw that. I wasn't sure if this was just like, are y'all just fucking with me or?
No, that's what they're calling the Hawk Girl and Green Lantern and
Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific, the Justice Gang.
The Justice Gang.
I was like, that's not ominous at all.
Right. I don't think I want any, policing group having the word gang in the name of it, but all right. I mean, Maxwell Lord is associated. So, I mean, because we heavily get that from the Peacemaker 2 trailer, you know. For those of you who haven't seen that Peacemaker Season 2 trailer, it starts off with Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, and oh my gosh, I just drew a blank on the man's name. I just said it. The guy that's playing his brother's playing.
Oh,
Maxwell Lord.
Maxwell Lord?
Christ, yeah.
I was like, Weasel?
It's like I just. Yeah.
Do you think Weasel will be in the movie? Think we get a Weasel cameo?
I don't think it'd be in Superman, but Weasel will show up somewhere. I mean, he was already in Creature Commandos. Yeah. We'll see Weasel again somewhere, for better or for worse. But yeah, we already see Maxwell Lord is associated with the Justice Gang. So, I mean, your original thesis is heating up, where you said that he's probably bankrolling them, and and who knows what.
I did call that right here, folks.
You did.
Here we are.
And here we are. It's going to be interesting to see, though, like what kind of Maxwell Lord this is. The Pedro Pascal one really didn't have a whole lot of the qualities of Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys forgot Pedro Pascal was Maxwell Lord, huh?
Yeah, he was just kind of like he was really just like Sebastian from fucking Neverending Story 2.
What a reference.
Well, he makes wishes in that movie.
Yeah.
And every time, all right.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna say a sleazy car salesman that would be in like an episode of Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah, that whole movie. I mean, we don't want to get into it, but holy shit, we reviewed that. Go check it out. It was terrible.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I guess just getting back to like the whole Justice Gang thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this, we learned, oh no, Maxwell Lord is kind of a douchebag, So yeah, that's going to be interesting just to see like where that leads to.
It might not even take that long.
Might not. But then you have to wonder, why are people like Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific, who's like one of the smartest people in DC Universe, like why are they working with him?
Well, probably because they got to pay rent. Guy Gardner seems like he might be kind of an asshole too.
Guy Gardner is a bit of a prick for sure, but like he would never be one to like sell himself for something that he doesn't really truly believe in.
Yeah, and I mean maybe Maxwell Lord,
here's the thing: Maxwell Lord does mind control. Like he's got Purple Man powers. You know? Not saying that he's got that in effect here in this universe.
Yeah, no. He may just like have convinced them he's a good dude, and wants to like help the world or whatever.
I mean, to their credit, that is like a ploy in the comic books. Before Wonder Woman breaks his goddamn neck, no one knows that he's been playing them. He's been playing them for a while.
It's interesting that they would put that in a movie with Lex. It almost makes you wonder if like maybe that's like part of it, right? Is maybe Lex was like, hey, I want you to, like, I'll pass you the money, but like, I need you to be the front for like this superhero organization. Just basically as like just fuck you to Superman. Like, we don't need you. We have these guys,
Yeah, that could be it. There, I'm not gonna spoil anything here, but we've gotten some still shots of the guy in the all black suit with the U on the chest, like without the helmet on. And I still don't know what to think. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we'll see what that's all about. Yeah. What do you think does more at the box office, Superman or?
Honestly, man, the way that it's looking right now, it's crazy to say this, right? Because of the history of the MCU and the DCU, but the recent history says that Fantastic Four might struggle. I think Fantastic Four is going to do better than Thunderbolts did, because I think everybody who went to see Thunderbolts is probably really excited to go and see whatever's next in the MCU. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the MCU is on I think it is on an upward tick.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's got to earn its audience back. I think that's a lot of the reason why they moved Doomsday after Spider-Man, which was a smart move. As much as I don't want to wait for the shit.
Yeah.
I dare say that I don't think Fantastic Four has a chance against Superman, either in a fight or. Actually, that's incorrect, because Reed Richards would come up with a way in about 3 hours how to beat this motherfucker. But
yeah, he's like, Ben, Johnny, Sue, hold them off. And they're like, with what?
Yeah, Ben's like, I mean, I could go fight him for a while. Like he could fight Superman for a while. He couldn't win, but he could fight him for a while. And Johnny could probably, dodge a lot. But yeah, man, yeah, if he doesn't just kill Reed, like Reed will come up with some like synthetic fucking kryptonite beam or some shit.
Sure, yeah. Well, I reverse engineered his cells, and they're actually powered by the sun's yellow radiation. So if I just
yeah, I'm just gonna turn that off. Wait, what? But I'm gonna say this, man. I think Fantastic Four is headed for I'm gonna say a 500 to 600 mil box office haul, and I think Superman is probably gonna do over 7. And I think a lot of that comes from that people really love James Gunn.
Yeah, this is an interesting kind of standoff between Marvel and DC right now. And I think that both these studios are also anticipating what's going to happen. I'm sure they got their people looking into it and getting, their predictions or whatever. I'm not sure how this thing goes. Here's what I think, though. I think that you may be onto something. Like with my algorithm, when I go online, a lot of people are just so hyped for Fantastic Four. Like they're really looking forward to this. I think the issue is, though, like these people are the ones who are already been invested.
Yeah.
And whereas I think that Marvel, they need to get the casuals back, to get them reinvested. The people who were invested, since Brave New World, Marvel doesn't need to worry about them. You already got them. But the people who maybe haven't shown up since Eternals,
which you could be forgiven for. Yeah. There's a lot of these that if we didn't have to review them, folks.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about some of these if we didn't have to review them.
Yeah. I can't tell you anything about some of them, and we watched and reviewed them.
Right. With Superman, here's the thing. I think that both of them have very intriguing trailers for both Superman and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's obviously what you want, too, is really good trailers.
The funny thing about it, too, and this might be a hot take, but neither of them have to try very hard to be the best Superman or Fantastic Four movie, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Like, and I'm not trying to shit on Superman 78 or whatever, but like, I mean, like that it's like trying to compare, like the next Spider-Man to Spider-Man 2, right? Like, I don't think Spider-Man 2 necessarily holds up as well. Like, when it came out, obviously, it was like the shit, and for a long time after that, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously, you go and watch that movie now, and there's a lot of things that don't hold up about it because it's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
Whereas with 78, I mean, it is like there are like 7 to 10 Star Wars films that came out after this movie. You know what I mean? That shit came out before Return of the Jedi, folks. Like, it's a really old movie, and like it just doesn't hold up. So like the only modern Superman movie that it really has to compete with is Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
And I don't like that movie. So and I think there's a lot of people that feel like that either. I think there's 3 main camps on that movie. There's people that absolutely adore it, like whatever, like, you know, Snyder is the shit and we love him, whatever. I think there's people that liked and enjoyed it but don't really like the take on Superman, and then there's just people that don't like it. And I think I may be in that second camp, actually. But I think that we want James Gunn to have this like kind of new take on Superman that's kind of more in line with, I think, some of the better Superman comics. Mm-hmm. And kind of giving him this kind of like hopeful kind of aura that the Donner Superman had.
Yeah.
But also keeping some of the realism that Man of Steel had,
right,
and some of the grit, but not just like, oh, we're just going to make this dark as fuck. Mm-hmm. You know?
I think that the number one thing that these movie studios need to remember when it comes to adapting a comic book is 9 times out of 10, unless you're like directly adapting a specific story from the comics, you can typically do whatever you want with the story. It's the characters that you have to get right.
Correct.
And so many of them don't understand that. So many of these movies have the idea of, well, we can just do whatever, and then we'll do it under the guise of this is our interpretation of said character. And like, if your interpretation of the character is nothing like the character from the source material, then is it really an adaptation at all?
Yeah. It's hard to gauge some of this stuff too, right? Because like, so, you know, Anthony Mackie has that very famous interview where he talks about how like,
make me a sandwich. I love that one.
That he does say that, but he has that famous interview where he talks about like, you know, that he's not necessarily a movie star, but the Falcon is, mm-hmm. and how like that's kind of changed a little bit. And I don't think that's changed entirely, right? I think there are definitely still like people who can draw in the movie industry just off of their name alone. And so if you like start looking at these, Superman doesn't really have any of those people in it, right? But it's got one attached to the director chair, mm-hmm. right? James Gunn has a very proven record at the box office. On the flip side of that, I think Stranger Things is a massive audience. Joseph Quinn was a standout from the last season. I think he has a huge following. Pedro Pascal, I think, has a huge following. Ask the people at HBO. And so I think that could draw people into the theater as well. But on the flip side of that, I also think that I haven't seen a lot of negative discourse about Superman online, but I think there is a lot of negative discourse around the Silver Surfer casting. I think people are upset about that. People really like Silver Surfer, and I think that there's a lot of people that just don't want to see this take on the character. I'm going to wait and see the movie and make a call there, you know?
Yeah. This is one of those things, and it's such a difficult thing to talk about because you don't want to be associated with certain people, period.
Right. No, you know.
Yeah. It was a similar thing back when Black Widow came out. Kevin and I were really excited because Taskmaster he's a great shit-talking villain. In the movie, they flip a lot of things, and the worst offense, it's not that it's not a dude and it's a woman. It's the fact that not even a shit talker.
Right. They pulled a Deadpool.
Yeah, from not the good Deadpool.
Yeah, no, the X-Men Origins Deadpool.
Yeah, and we see how that character ended up. Both of them actually. That version of Deadpool.
They know. Asterisk.
Yeah. The thing about Silver Surfer though is and I've said this before, but there are camps of people, right? So one camp says, "Oh my gosh, like they're huge fans of the Silver Surfer," and I also really enjoy the Silver Surfer. That was one of Kirby's favorites, actually. But it's the idea that, man, how many more opportunities are we really going to get to see, live action Silver Surfer? And I really wanted Norrin Rad, but instead of giving us Shala Ball. And then there's people who think they're really intelligent. They say things like, well, she's actually in the comic books, and she's Silver Surfer in some of those comic books. She's Silver Surfer, as far as I know, in one comic book. And, and I've talked about that before. It's Earth X. Tremendous comic book. But, it's also the idea of, there's comic books where Damian Wayne is Batman. I don't want to see a live action adaptation of that,
You damn right.
And so I'm assuming that maybe there was a reason why they decided to go with Shala Ball and not Norrin Rad. Maybe the Silver Surfer sacrifices herself.
Yeah, this whole idea that, we're going to hate on this because they gender swapped the character. Fuck that. Mm-hmm. There are some excellent interpretations out there where this has happened. Yeah. I mean, there's some really, really good ones out there. So, I would not ever want to, have that opinion on it. And that's, the people you don't want to be associated with, But if they did it, if they're going to try to treat this character as the Surfer and just try to, replace the Surfer with this version with no real merit to it, I have to question that decision. But on the other hand, I think Julia Garner is an amazing actress. I'm a huge fan of her work. So, maybe she's going to be incredible and the script will be there to support her. I would love that.
I wish all it took was having an amazing actor in a role.
Oh, we know that, ain't it?
We'll tell you guys next week when we review 2015 Fantastic Four.
They had at least 3 great actors.
Yeah. Great cast doesn't necessarily mean that shit's going to be smooth.
Check out Thor the Dark World.
Oh, my gosh.
Where they cast Chris Eccleston.
Yeah. That's Malekith. And they gave him fuck all to do.
And everybody was like, that's going to be so badass.
Should have been.
Malekith is in that movie for maybe 9 minutes.
Yeah, and has nothing. He's so unremarkable in that movie.
Yeah, he's like a episode of the week Star Trek villain in that.
Kind of is.
I think we bullshitted enough.
We have.
So this is the point where if you're still hanging out, you about to get spoiled on Ballerina. So
yes.
Where do we want to start here?
Bro, what the fuck is the cult?
Yeah, I don't know. This whole plot was, look, I mean, a lot of it, I was just like, all right, okay. Yep. This is what we're doing. All right, yeah, okay. This is the thing. So apparently it's this cult, and you can't ever leave, which is weird because their whole purpose seems to be to run this assassin village. But it's like, who are you going to assassin if you can't leave here? I guess maybe you can leave there to go on missions. But it's supposed to be like Assassinville, Mm-hmm. And
what makes them any different from any other assassin group? I mean, why can't they leave, and go assassinate with the other assassins if it's all the same?
The whole thing, it makes very little sense. And the guy that plays the villain was incredibly one-note mustache twirling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he bored me, I'll be honest.
Yeah. In the beginning, I kind of thought we might have something here. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, all right, cool, kind of dark, mysterious vibe type guy. I really like the whole, he didn't turn around and look at the explosion thing. That's how you knew he was a badass.
Exactly. Also, he didn't really know how to fight at all, did he?
No, he didn't really seem like I thought, okay, like maybe we're gonna get this moment where he's gonna.
Yeah.
But no, this is just like a I have goons situation.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's ever won like an arm wrestling match.
I don't think so. I don't think so. So, yeah, that's the whole idea, is that there's this specific group of assassins, and we know from the John Wick franchise that there are, different sects of assassins or what have you. But for the most part, they seem to really just be differentiated by regions,
Right.
Like, if there's a continental near you, then that's kind of like the group that you're associated with. That's kind of the vibe that you get. But here, this cult, it has a name. I don't remember it, though.
Yeah.
But this cult, you don't learn anything about it. I'm like, okay, it's a cult. What are their teachings? Like what this cult leader, like he's got to be fucking everybody's wives.
Yeah.
You don't see any of that.
Nope. Not on screen.
Yeah, not on screen anyway. You don't even see him with any women hardly. I don't believe it. Like you are not a very convincing cult leader, sir. You only have one woman or no women. That's very non cult like of you.
Well, he had at least one because he had a kid.
That's true. Allegedly, yeah. But we don't know anything about this cult or why it's so bad or why he thinks it's so good. So they keep mentioning it, but there's no substance to it.
It's kind of funny, right? Because like Winston was like all like ooh about it.
Yeah.
But John Wick didn't give a fuck. He walked right into that whole city, those motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like that's the thing I love about John Wick is that like the man, his stats are maxed out, but like stealth is 0.
No.
Because he doesn't need that.
Nope. That's only for people who can't fight.
Yeah. Or who don't have a badass reputation,
It's not Eve's specialty either, because if you notice, like this motherfucker stepped off the train and walked right to her.
He did. Just beeline.
Yeah.
His John Wick senses told him exactly where she was at.
Like he had a tracking device on her. Okay, all right. So you got to clarify some things for me. Okay, so the theater, what's the name of those people? Is that the like?
It starts with an R.
Ramanaska or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the like people that John Wick was associated with.
Not directly, no.
Okay, but he went to them for protection after the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
After all that bullshit with the Russians happened.
Right.
Okay, I knew I remembered them. So when he goes there, obviously, like that whole thing with the tattoo on the back, that's in the second movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. Is like that part had to line up with the second movie.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to say that because it would have been a spoiler. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well,
yeah. Oh, the thing I was referencing earlier that I didn't realize until the movie was over and I saw it on the poster. I didn't know that Norman Reedus was in this.
Yeah. I didn't know either until I just like when she got the paper with the face on it or whatever. I was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, we both kind of looked at each other like, oh, okay.
And apparently he's also probably going to be in the second one.
Yeah, because he's still alive.
Yeah.
But, when we left the theater, I walked past the poster, and I was like, oh, shit, there's Norman Reedus.
Yeah. I had no idea he was going to be in this at all.
Same. Yeah. So, let's talk about John Wick's appearances in this, man. At first, I thought that the only appearance he was going to have was in like the end of that first act.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be it for him.
Yeah, and I was like, that's kind of minor, but I mean, it makes sense. Like, at least they didn't do some shit where he like turns around in slow motion and then like the music just.
Yeah, right. And he could have said something just completely fucking ridiculous, like the way you move, it's like a ballerina.
Oh my god! I'd have got up and walked. I did like the all this over a puppy line that the director dropped on him. It wasn't just a puppy.
It wasn't just a puppy. And when he shows up at the end, so like when when the one lady makes the call, and I'm thinking, well, I wonder if she's gonna call in like some super specialized badass, but it won't be John Wick, because if John Wick shows up, Eve is gonna die.
Yeah, there's not gonna be any more of these movies.
Yeah.
That motherfucker got there so fast.
Bruh.
Did they have like a Tony Stark satellite they could just shoot him down out of?
Had to have.
They just got like a Baba Yaga satellite, and like, they're like, oh, we need you here, and it just kind of like turns and just.
Because where was that place in the third act?
So they went there from like Prague, which what's crazy to me is like, and not just these movies, but like a lot of assassins tend to like to go to Prague.
Why is that?
I don't know why. Maybe it's just a cool place to shoot movies, because I think some of the Gorman stuff was probably shot there too.
Oh, okay.
In Andor, there's just a lot of shit that goes on. Like, everybody wants to go to Prague in these movies for some reason. Maybe it's a cool. Maybe we should go. Maybe it's just a cool ass place.
Shoot some homie content there.
But this was like up in the mountains somewhere in this clearly like Icelandic / like Slavic kind of town.
Yeah. It looked like a cool place to fly over during Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, like one time. Yeah. And then as soon as she got there, I was like, yeah, this is kind of like the Middle East, or like the Eastern European version of The Hills Have Eyes,
But with guns.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. The Nords have guns.
When Eve showed up to that place in the third act, it did give like a really creepy vibe, which was interesting because this ain't a horror movie, but yeah, I'm getting some horror vibes here right now. She walks in, and I love the way that this whole scene plays out, because she walks in and she orders a coffee, and maybe you just don't order coffees in this place.
Yeah.
Like, ordering a coffee, that's like super far right-wing conservative language for like ordering a pizza, and they're like, you don't do that.
There's a lot of instances in this movie where Eve goes into a place and then everyone there just starts to try to kill her.
Everywhere she goes, that happens, basically.
Yeah.
She goes to a gun shop, and in the middle of the train, like, imagine you're playing a video game and you're making, you're trying to buy some new weapons, and then all of a sudden,
Honestly, man, I saw that shit and I was like, that's perfect, man. I got to use that at one of my D&D tables. Like, the players are just in the middle of shopping and like a fight just breaks out.
Yes. I mean, I hate to give this game credit as much as we've been shitting on it, but The Last of Us Part 2, I never forget, man, like, one woman I had to give them kudos for, you go to a workbench and, well, the workbench is there. You don't have to go to it, but you're going to go to it.
Right.
And, I'm going there and I'm working on my shit, and I get attacked like an actual like cinematic fight scene breaks out. I'm like, motherfucker. Like, I was in the middle of some shit.
Right.
But that's kind of how it was here. Like, I thought that she was gonna buy the cool ass gun.
Yeah, we were getting the James Bond weapon montage where they like show the protagonist all the cool ass weapons. Yeah. And then just in the middle of that, it's like bop bop bop, some more of these cultists are here.
Yep.
And honestly, this was a cool scene.
It was. Man, like, the way that she fights these people is very extra, because, like, at least John Wick, he'll go pop pop pop,
yeah.
And
John Wick is just gonna shoot you.
Yeah, he's gonna be very precise and consistent. She's gonna duct tape a grenade to your titties and then strap you to a wall.
There was a lot of kills in this where I was like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. A lot of the people that she burned to death. There's a whole flamethrower scene,
yes,
which I really liked, and
Same.
Just pure rule of cool. You know what I mean?
I was like, you know what? We got the flame shotguns in John Wick 4.
Yep.
Now we got the flamethrowers here. This is nice.
I used that dragon's breath in Call of Duty. I popped hard for that shit in John Wick 4. I was like, hey, that's my shit. I really love the flamethrower stuff here. I thought it was cool as fuck. The part where it got a little for me was when they had the water versus fire Dragon Ball Z fight, and I was like, okay, but like the water's not gonna hurt him.
Yeah, like Yeah, it's just like he's not a fire elemental, you know.
Right? Yeah. It's like you're trying to have like a water versus fire Pokemon fight or some shit. Like that's not what's happening. Yeah, that's not what's happening.
But I just assumed like, okay, she's waiting. She's wanting the water pressure to like knock him over or do something.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not trying to extinguish him because she thinks she's made of fire.
Yeah. That nameless guy, nameless NPC, was badass. As a matter of fact, she never beat him.
That's true. I would love to see, because I love watching like the BTS footage on like movies like this. I get off on that type of shit. I would love to watch the BTS of this to see exactly how they did the flamethrower stuff.
Yeah.
Because like I think a lot of it was cool camera angling, so it looked like they were blasting head on, but they probably were fucking worlds apart.
Right. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of that kind of stuff too. I've been watching that ILM documentary that I was telling you about. Yeah.
Yeah. It was some really cool stuff with those flamethrowers, and we had just never gotten that before.
Yeah. Random. This made me think about it, but there's actually an extended sequence in the most recent episode I watched where it's Jon Favreau is on there, and they talk a lot about how they did like a lot of the Iron Man stuff.
Hell yeah,
because they did all of that, and they had the physical suit, like it was all physical effects, and Jon Favreau didn't want to do any CGI,
like none.
Like he wanted to do it as minimum as possible.
Yeah.
So like certain things that they just couldn't do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they wanted to have RDJ in the suit as much as humanly possible, like the physical suit. And RDJ was like, "Bro, you can't do shit in this thing. It sucks." Yeah. Like I'm literally like a 10 man, not an Iron Man. And apparently, like one day they were in post and they had like a shot up, and Jon Favreau comes in and he's like, "Yeah, that's weird. I thought we sanded down that fin there," and he's talking about it, and the guys in the room are looking around at each other, and he was talking about the prop suit as if that's what was on the screen, but it was actually the CGI suit, and that was the moment where he was like, "Oh well, if it can fool me, then fuck it." And like the whole rest of the movie was just RDJ in his like pajamas with the little green dots on them.
Yes. And that's what I'm accustomed to seeing, like in those behind the scenes shots, like him just wearing like pieces of the suit and like the pajamas with the the shit on them.
Well, he had a good point, right? It's like if you do a close up on him and he's got like the real shoulders on and the rest of it CGI. If the audience looks at that and they're like, your brain goes, you could reach out and touch that. Yeah. Then they're sold at that point, and you don't question it. Which is accurate. That's really how.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I say it again, but I still think that the CG on Iron Man 1 holds up really well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because I'll be honest, I'd be hard pressed if we frame by frame through that to tell you what is and is not the real suit.
Yeah. And not to get us off on like an MCU CGI tangent, but there's this one YouTube channel that I watch pretty frequently. Ironically, I forget the name of them. I'm not trying to snub them. They're really great. They're visual effects specialists, so they're people who work in the field, and they have their own YouTube channel where they look at movies and they break down CGI and like whether it's like it's really good or really bad or whatever. And one time they had on a guy who was like one of the lead. I guess visual effects artists for Endgame, and they had him go in there and they looked at some of the cool shots from Endgame, and these guys have such a keen eye. They picked up on something I didn't notice, and you can tell that it really irked the specialist who they had who worked on the movie. It was when Thanos goes to snap in Endgame. And they go, it's interesting because like this is such a great shot, like the way that Thanos looks, blah blah. They're going off about how amazing he looks, but then they go, but it's interesting, right? Because like you look at the glove and you see like there's some clipping right there on it. Yeah. And I was like, oh fuck, there is. And the guy, the specialist they brought in from Marvel, he was like, Like, you can tell that shit just really fucking irked him that somehow that got through. I would have never noticed. But.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because apparently I just now got to the part where they're talking about the prequels, you know, where George Lucas was like, yes, I want to do Phantom Menace, and this is around like 95, 96, something like that. And they had these artists draw up all these giant storyboards where they had panels on them like that, and they had storyboarded out the whole movie. So there'd be like, I don't know, 70 panels this size that they had drawn.
Yeah.
And they just kept, and it was on these huge boards, and they just kept bringing them in.
Damn.
And he like turns around to ILM, to the people at ILM, and he's like, so this is the movie. and like they literally went shot by shot and were like, okay, we're gonna have to do that practical. They had like they had two highlighters, and they would highlight in like, we can do that, we should do that practical. This is gonna have to be CGI, whatever. And they were like, we don't really have a good way of doing this. We don't have a really good way of doing that. And they like looked at all of it, and they're talking about George Lucas's like producer on those movies because he had to pay for those himself.
Yeah,
he completely self-financed all those. And his name was Rick McCallum. And the guy at ILM was like, listen, we'll have to figure out a way to do all this stuff because like that's what we do here. He's like, but it's going to cost like $112 million to do all the effect shots for this movie. And they said that George Lucas's producer took out a napkin and wrote down $62 million, take it or leave it, with the X and a line for him to sign on, and slid it across the table. And they did it.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. Anyway, so this Ballerina movie.
Yeah. I can't segue us back in smoothly.
So I really like to know how they did some of the effects on this one.
Yeah. They punched the motherfucker. That's what they did. Let's talk about the actual John Wick and Eve fight. I thought this was great.
It was so well done because obviously the whole movie, you're kind of comparing her fighting style to his.
Yeah.
And then later in this movie, we actually get to see the two of them. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, she never really gets one over on him, and she really shouldn't.
Yeah. But
you can tell that he's surprised she's able to fight as well as she is. You know, he's got this look on his face like, you're a persistent little fuck, you know?
I almost took it as like, most people run from me at this point.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, I'm actually giving you a chance to live, and you do this.
Yeah, and it's like you said, like, John Wick is very precise with his stuff. Like, he's going to shoot you and you're going to be dead as fuck when he walks off. Yeah. Whereas you may live for several hours after Eve gets done with you.
Right.
I think my favorite kill in the whole movie might be when she straps a grenade to that dude and then pulls him over the table, that metal table.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't think I'd have done that one. Like, that's risky AF.
That is super risky.
You don't know how strong that table is.
Yeah. Because there's a couple things you have to think about with that. One, if that table is really light enough for you to just casually pull it over like that, it's probably not sturdy enough to withstand a grenade blast.
Yeah. I guess she maybe was counting on, like, the dude's body absorbing most of...
Yeah.
That's still a crazy calculation to make that quickly.
Very much so. Because, like, you have to, like, Steve Rogers turtle yourself underneath that table, you know.
That dude she trapped behind the door got turbo fucked.
Oh, my gosh.
He was dust. There was nothing left of him.
Yeah, don't give Eve any throwables, including grenades.
Especially not grenades.
Yeah. She will wreck your shit with grenades. I know that sounds like a dumb statement because most people will wreck your shit with grenades, but especially her.
She was incredibly adept with her grenade usage in this movie. And, like, you also don't want her to have any kind of hammer.
No.
And definitely not anything she can throw. And I mean anything that's hammer-like. You don't want her to have a sledgehammer, a mallet, one of those little claw hammer things. Nope. None of that. You don't want her to have none of that shit. No ice picks.
Nope.
Nothing that even remotely resembles a hammer in any way.
Not a hammer from the back of your Tonka toy truck.
No.
Nothing.
No, she'll kill you with that shit. Yeah.
Not a whack-a-mole hammer.
Definitely not that. Definitely not like a Gallagher hammer.
Oh my gosh, no. Not a Harley Quinn mallet. None of that shit.
She'll throw that shit at you too.
Absolutely, with precision.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Man, there was another crazy kill I wanted to talk about that I forgot. In the meantime, yeah, Norman Reedus is in this.
He's not in it very much. Like we
He's
said
not.
in the spoiler free section. I mean, Eve is by far the most screen time in the movie, hands down. Like second is either got to be Winston, John Wick, or the director, and all of those. I mean, what they have combined maybe 10 to 12 minutes of screen time.
Yeah,
I mean,
combined. Yeah.
combined. Yeah, like the movie is very focused on her, and that's a hard thing to do for her to carry the whole movie like that. And I thought that she did an incredible job here. Like none of the issues I have with this movie are on her performance at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so the way that this movie ends, though, is because she does commit a cardinal sin, and she kills like the head of one of these assassin families.
Yeah,
So there is a bounty put on her.
it feels real. That the end of this movie felt very seen it before though for me.
To a degree, that's got to be what they were going for, though.
Right. Yeah, but I don't know this whole like everybody's after you thing. I mean, I think it made more sense for John because it's like it would make sense for John to have all these people who are still going to be loyal to him, even though there's the bounty out because he's the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
He was this legendary figure, but like she's a nobody in this world.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the only friend she's really got is Winston and now John Wick, which I guess, I mean,
Oh, if you got John Wick in your back, but maybe the second one picks up and he's dead,
right, yeah.
and then she's like, "Oh fuck."
That would be an interesting way to go about the sequel to this, which they're clearly going to do, unless this one just doesn't make any money, and I don't think that's the case already. I have to look at the box office in a minute, but I think it would be a very interesting twist to have this kind of thing where, like, the bounty comes out, and then John makes it known, like, if you kill her, I'll come after you, and like just nobody fucks with her,
Yeah.
and then now he's dead,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that makes it tricky.
because I honestly think, at some point, this franchise, whether through age or whatever else, this franchise is going to have to leave Keanu Reeves behind.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, do you think that she will be in John Wick 5?
Somebody's got to be in it.
Well, I think he's going to be the main character.
Yeah, but it's funny because I saw a clip of an interview where the director was like, "Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to put John Wick in John Wick 5." And I was like, "Guys, this is going to become parody if we keep this up." But I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, if they do John Wick 5, Eve will for sure be in that movie. I say so.
This movie needs apparently a 180 mil
To break.
to break profit, and it is not looking super good right now. It's only sitting at 55 worldwide.
Really? It's been a week, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it came out. Yeah. Ooh. So maybe it'll have legs, but it better stretch them out quick because
They should have pulled like a Birds of Prey and changed the name of it. Changed the name of the movie to John Wick, the Ballerina.
they did. They changed it to the movie is From the World of John Wick, Ballerina.
Yeah, but you can't put that on the marquee.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Like a Key Jim and Drake, John Wick, and then like Ballerina and like Somalia. Yeah. I don't know, man. And it's a shame if it goes that way. I think she's an incredible character. I thought she did really well here. So
the fear I have for this, and excuse me, guys, I'm going to put on my my misogyny glasses here. Let me take these off, put the other ones on. My fear for this movie, though, was that like this type of movie typically attracts your dude bros. I don't know what it says about me. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. The John Wick movies have never really attracted a large female fan base, except for the ones who really, really, really love Keanu.
right.
And and the dudes went to see it so they can try to channel Keanu, like because they want to be him or whatever. or be cool like that. With this, you have obviously a female protagonist, and you have to bank on the same dude bros who go saw John Wick is going to go see this, but you're also banking on gaining a female audience where before you didn't really have any. And that's kind of the difficult thing I think about this one.
There are not very many women that I know that would have and I'm not trying to be reductive. There's not very many women I know that would have a hook in this movie. You know, like most of the women I know that really enjoy going to the movies, they either want a character they can really like associate with. That's not really in this movie, or a romance angle. None of that here. Or like a really like quirky kind of cutesy type character. Yeah. None of that here. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. I enjoy all of those to a degree. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of tough if, 90 plus minutes of action porn isn't your thing. Also, they could be looking at a little bit of their own kind of end game effect here too. There's probably a chunk of the audience that watched John Wick 4 and was like, okay, it's over. I'm done. Yeah. I'm good. I saw the whole arc here. Yeah. Some people may even argue that 4 wasn't necessary if you've never seen the movie.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can't end it on 3. That's a hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I thought 4 was incredible. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Fucking Donnie Yen, man.
It goes on too long for me too, though. Like, you could cut out maybe 20 minutes of Keanu killing people from that movie, and I'd be like, yes.
Yeah. But that one is also the longest in the franchise.
Yeah. There's that part where he's going up all them fucking steps.
Bruh, yes.
I was like, how many steps are there? And how many ninjas are on the steps?
And then he gets knocked down the stairs, and you watch him hit every one of those goddamn stairs.
And then he goes back up them. Yeah. And I was like, come on, dog.
Like that's determination.
Yeah.
I would stay my ass down there.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, there's nothing I needed at the top of them steps that badly.
Right. Oh. Nope. Yeah. This third act, though, for me, is the act that stands out the most. And I guess, if nothing else, that's kind of what you want, in Act 1, you mentioned this. At first, I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. You said, hey, is that number 2? And I was like, nobody's taking a shit on this. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. It's like, you should have said Diego or Kraken or something. I'd be like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Diego is the dad, the same actor from Umbrella Academy. He's in the movie for all of 2 minutes. I thought the scene at the beginning was kind of way drawn out as well. Like we don't need all this.
We know where this is going.
Right. And also, like, why, if he's like a former assassin, why is everything he has in his house smoke grenades? Like, why does he have, like, I don't know, a gun?
Yeah. Like, even retired John Wick had fucking guns buried.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you broke off from these motherfuckers.
Yeah. And also, why you live in that? Where do you live?
It looked like some shit out of, like, Final Fantasy 9 or something. Some, like, French fucking sea castle. It looked like some Expedition 33 shit. Yeah. This motherfucker lives in Lumiere.
Yeah. Like, you gotta take a fucking airboat to get to where you live.
Yeah.
Shit was crazy. And then, like, he had, like, a fucking ridiculously large antique mansion.
For no reason.
Yeah. It's just you and your daughter.
Yeah. Like, do mermaids visit here? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was so confused. And then they had like a boat dock with no boats.
And he had like 3 guards or something.
Yeah.
Man, like, that second guard that they kill, bruh. They shot him up with so many crossbow.
God, that's like he was dead at the first one.
Yeah, the first one's like a headshot, stuck him to the wall. I was like, okay, I can understand a double tap, but they were like, and I was like, God, okay. Damn. I was like, reloading a crossbow takes a minute. Right. It's not a Gatling gun,
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. So apparently, he lives in like the equivalent of the fucking Wayne Manor out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. There should have been a lighthouse, maybe.
Yeah,
it was out on an island.
Right. You don't have no camera set up where you can see like the perimeter of your house.
They don't got no fucking. They apparently don't have no electricity out here, like off the coast of Madagascar or wherever the fuck this mansion is.
God damn. Oh shit!
This motherfucker looked like Ariel tracked him here.
Right. Oh man.
I just can't get over her song.
Yeah, so he gets killed in like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and I mean you kind of see it coming. You have to.
And apparently they like killed her mom because he left. It's kind of the vibe
kind
you
of
get.
what I took from it, and then they allude to also the sister angle.
It's dumb as fuck. Especially because they killed her less than 2 minutes after they revealed the shit.
And then why did he kill her?
Yeah, it's just, oh, well, they're having a conversation. We're going to have to blow the house up. Like,
they're like, but sir.
Oh, yeah, even the fucking mindless NPC henchmen were like, sir? and he gives no reason, no logic for this, nothing, just, well, you got to kill both of them. I mean, you would think if you raise this, like, loyal person that you've indoctrinated for their whole life, you're banking on them turning the other person to you, especially if you're a fucking megalomaniac cult leader.
Yeah.
And not, oh, well, you know what? This bitch that she's never even talked to just showed up. And she's now going to side with just because it's her long-lost sister that she hates anyway.
Mm-hmm. It was such a pointless twist and reveal.
And then it becomes a nothing burger immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand if, like, maybe that she was going to live and the second movie was going to be, like, the two of them.
Right.
You know?
Because I thought for sure, I mean, I was going to roll my eyes at it, but I thought for sure, like, the two of them were going to
team up
and, you know, take on the world.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's going to be, like, a slow motion scene where, like, the two of them and John Wick walk in the door, like, kick the doors open and, like, walk in, you know, and just start killing everybody.
But no, that does not happen.
Nope. There is a John Wick, like, bell tower scene or whatever where the hilarious shit where the guy's like, that's fucking John Wick. This is a suicide mission. Like, let's just leave. And then he gets killed.
Right. That poor guy, he's the only person that had, like, any functioning brain cells that worked for the bad guy. Yeah. And still got murdered.
There was that one Japanese dude in the early part of the movie when she's on, like, her first mission. Yeah. And let me say this to this movie's credit. I really love that fight scene. Mm-hmm. Because you can tell that she goes into it like, oh, I'm a fucking trained assassin. Let's fucking go. And, like, she gets fucking... Number one, she's in over her head. Mm-hmm. And she gets absolutely fucking rocked by these guys.
Yeah, she gets her shit rocked at the beginning.
And that's one thing I really applaud this movie for is, like, they totally could have just tried to make her as good as John Wick from the beginning of this. And the fact that they didn't do that and she actually gets... her ass handed to her quite often, and especially early in the movie. I thought that was a really nice touch.
Agreed. I think one of my favorite shots, though, it was after the second mission we see her go on, and she gets in the elevator and she's leaving, and she gets in the car where she's fucking pinned some guy to the wall. Yes. And we get this tracking shot of her, you know, backing up, and then she's leaving. And then she gets fucking T-boned.
This shot was nuts.
That was a great shot, yeah. And I'm like, that would suck.
Because, like, as the car's T-boning her, the dude gets out with, like, a Uzi or some shit. And he's, like, shooting the car up while he's pushing it.
Yeah. I was like, that is really fucking incredible.
It was a great shot. I think visual effects-wise, it might have been the best shot in the movie.
I think so, man. That might be my favorite moment right there. Again, the flamethrower stuff was really cool, but it did go on a little too long.
Especially when they started doing the dance or whatever, where they had the lightsaber flamethrowers locked, and the flamethrowers were shooting into the air.
I was like, this is a mating ritual.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Oh man, it was like a fun. There were some legit comedic moments in this movie, like. When she's fighting John Wick and he's walking away and she like tackles him through the board wall.
Yeah, and then he tosses her through the other one.
That was so almost good. Just like how fucking dare you?
Also, the scene where her, all the stuff with like that random chef
yes.
was hilarious. Where she's like, oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. It's like, no, I'm an assassin too, bitch.
Yeah.
And then she ends up locking her in the freezer,
Right.
and then she gets out the freezer, and they start hitting each other with the plates or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, they hit each other with the plates first.
And then she gets locked in the freezer. Yeah, because when she gets out the freezer, she is only alive for about 5 seconds.
She gets headshot immediately.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was great too. The fucking plate smashing was.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was all pretty funny stuff. I wish they had done something else for the finale, you know.
Yeah, because, like, the whole, like, okay, the bad guy's going to monologue, and you shoot him. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. I mean, at that point, I was kind of ready to get out of there. Yeah. But, like, it makes no sense why this whole, like, cult of these assassins or whatever would follow this guy that can't even fight at all. Like, you know, he doesn't have to be, like, the best fighter, obviously, because, like, that person's not going to have a lot of leadership skills. But, like, this motherfucker don't seem like he could kill, like, you know, a mouse.
Yeah.
He just does. I mean, he just seems generic, mustache twirling, like, middle-aged white guy kind of deal.
Yeah, it didn't really, there was nothing spectacular about this character. And with all due respect to the actor, there was nothing much that he really added to that character either. Like, I look at John Wick 4, like, Bill Skarsgård, he chewed the scene with, like, every scene he had in that role. And it was to the point, and also, not only that, but, like, he had Donnie Yen that was there to be, like, the big main threat to John Wick, you know?
They never even say this guy's name. He's just Chancellor.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. I don't think this guy's been in a ton of stuff lately. Like, everything that he's in is, like, from the 90s that I'm seeing. Like, he's in End of Days, Stigmata, Man in the Iron Mask.
Oh, yeah, so this is all 90s stuff.
Yeah, Enemy of the State.
Wow. So he had a hell of a career, though, 30 years ago.
Yeah, and then apparently he wasn't in anything for a while, and then he was in Hereditary, and then this.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
I don't know what the thought process was there behind that, but all right.
But I mean, honestly, can't really do much. I mean, for the actor here, it's definitely not like they gave him anything to do.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
Just walk around and talk on the phone.
Yeah,
and occasionally drop a monologue.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the whole cult thing needs some fleshing out. I'm very surprised that John Wick doesn't have a comic book yet.
Yeah.
That, like, explains the early days of John Wick, of him becoming the Baba Yaga, you know.
It'd be perfect for it.
Absolutely.
I got to say, too, I was so pleasantly surprised to see Lance Reddick in this. Mm-hmm. I guess he had to have filmed these before he died, you know. Maybe it took a while to get this off the ground. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Because I guess technically the first time I heard about Ballerina was shortly after John Wick 4 came out. But he had already died when John Wick 4 came out.
I think so.
They had, like, the in memoriam at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
Man. So yeah, this had to have been filmed really early on.
This was his final scene. This was his final on-screen role.
Had to have been.
Yep.
Sheesh.
But apparently, like, yeah, because they already, like, this article about him being in this movie is from early 2023.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they must have done a lot of work on this movie after the fact. Or reshoots or something.
Had to have. Because that's a long time.
Yeah, apparently Lance, he only shot one day on the movie. So.
Man. Yeah, but it was good to see him again.
Agreed.
It's going to be weird going back to the Continental without him behind the desk.
Absolutely. I'm such a huge fan of a ton of his work, particularly on The Wire, but he's in so many really good things.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah. You got anything else in there before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. I thought that this movie was definitely worth going to see. I thought it was a nice fresh take on the franchise. We'll have to see how it goes going forward. I think if it doesn't at least make budget back, our odds of getting another one of these are slim. But it's possible we could get this character back in John Wick 5. So we'll see.
Yeah. So we probably should have said this like an hour and 40 minutes ago, but yeah, go see this movie.
Yeah, go see it.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
You won't. If you like John Wick, you will like this.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you probably won't.
Yep.
But we have some very interesting upcoming episodes for you guys.
Oh my gosh.
Next week, probably the very next time you hear us, we will be here with the homies Oz and the homie Dylan, who has never seen this movie. We're going to be reviewing the 2015 Fan Four Stick, the last step on our road to first steps.
On our road to... Yes, first steps.
He loves that button way too much.
Listen, I only have this button for a very limited amount of time.
That's right. That's true. You got to enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
And then, after that, I mean, so, yeah, that's next week. And then we'll have something the week after that. We haven't decided that yet. And then we'll be right into movie reviews after that. So we'll be right into Jurassic World at that point.
Dominion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I feel like we haven't given that movie the hype that they're looking for.
I do. I have a little hype for it.
Okay.
I only have a little hype for it because I did read that they are going back to a lot of the things from Lost World, the novel, the actual Michael Crichton novel that the that the feature film took the name from, but otherwise basically ignored. Ian Malcolm is the main character, and that is about it. That's like the only plot beat that they really grabbed from it. Yeah, it's rough, but apparently they are going to go and get some of that stuff from the novel. I think we're going to see a lot of like mutated dinosaurs though, where it's like, oh, we were fucking around and accidentally cooked this thing up
And found out.
and at that point, I'm like, at what point are we is this no longer like dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Is this just a creature flick? And I really like the cast. Like, I think the cast of this movie is going to be stellar. But as we have stated, and we'll reiterate for you next week, that does not save your film.
No. You can't act your way out of a bad script.
That's right. And you also can't outcast your way out of one. So
No. Unfortunately. So, yeah, here's to you, Jurassic World Dominion, and all your scary dinosaurs. It'll be a fun creature feature, I'm sure.
yeah, and then right after that, man, we're going to have...
Superman.
Yeah, we have Superman. We'll have that out to you guys early.
Yeah.
So,
And then it's crazy, right? Because then 2 weeks after Superman, we get... I'm not going to hit the button again. We get Fantastic Four.
yeah, he wants to, but yeah, we're going to get Fantastic Four first steps right after that. So, yeah, July is going to be busy, and I guess that off week that we have, we're going to have to fucking review Ironheart.
Oh my gosh, yeah. See, in the back of my mind, it was bugging me all day. I was like, I know something happens at the end of June. What is it? And yeah it's Ironheart. Yep.
Every time I go on Instagram or whatever, because that's like really the only social media I spend much time on. I get on Blue Sky every now and then. But I've been going on Instagram more than usual because, Dragon Con has been dropping things.
Yeah.
And so I've been going on there to check out what Dragon Con's got going on. And sometimes, like, the Marvel Studios story will be lit up, and I'll click it, and I'll be like, oh, there's going to be some dope Doomsday shit or something, and I click it, and then it'll be some, like, Ironheart trash, and I just kind of skip through it. Watch it just be amazing. I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, listen, we've been wrong before. X-Men 97.
At 97, we thought it was going to be a trash heap.
Yep.
And it was dope.
It was amazing.
It was the dopest song they ever wrote in 97.
You could say that it was uncanny. All right. I think I think we can end on that one. Yeah. You good over there? You look tired.
I am. We've
Okay.
overstayed our welcome.
Oh, okay. Fun fact, even though, like, obviously the Fantastic Four button I just ripped straight from the Fantastic Four score, YouTube doesn't know that. So I've been getting away with that shit, and it's been great.
I think it's like just short enough.
It's just short enough.
Where it's skipping through the...
Yeah. All right, homies, that's going to be all for this one. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this breakdown and review of Ballerina, John Wick spinoff story thing.
As I destroy the table.
But that's going to be all for this one. We will see you guys again very soon for Fan Four Stick. But until then, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.